This Ag Business Update brought to you by American Implement, indebted to the past, committed to the future. In a moment, the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank's Courtney Cowley.
Would you like to see something done about high gas prices and low unemployment? Western Place Energy in Campus, Kansas is doing something about it. They're a proud part of Growth Energy, America's ethanol supporters, and they employ 38 people and will be adding more following the expansion. Ethanol fuel not only reduces the cost of regular gasoline, it's good for the environment and keeps money right here in the United States while supporting local rural jobs. Western Plains Energy, doing something for the future.
Wolfter Construction and Irrigation has been around a long time, and a lot of folks have trusted them to design, build, and service all sizes of commercial and on-farm storage for grain and equipment. Wolfter is also known for their outstanding irrigation division, where they stock a complete selection of nozzles, regulators, drops, gear drives, electrical, and structure components. Looking for an electric motor? Wolfter has a large selection in single and three-phase. Next time, reach out to the pros who have decades of experience at taking care of business the right way. Wolfter Construction and Irrigation.
And joining us now is Courtney Cowley, who is a senior economist with the Kansas City Federal Reserve in the Oklahoma City branch. Courtney, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ken.
Always great to kind of catch up after Fed meetings or other things that we can kind of then glean some information there. But we do like to talk with you like in the quarterlies to see how things are going. And from a Fed standpoint, what are you observing right now?
Yes, so markets have been a little unsettled in the last couple weeks. So just kind of starting there with prices, I think there was, in markets for equities had become kind of volatile. The VIX index, which is an indicator of how much uncertainty is in the market, has come up. And so I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of questions about what does that mean for agriculture. We did see prices decline and then come back up a couple days ago. But on the whole, when we're seeing corn sub $4 a bushel, soybeans under $11 a bushel, that can be some cause for concern. Cattle markets are still really strong, prices still really elevated there. So for our region, that's a good thing. But we are starting to see some initial signs of weakness. And I think on the whole, agriculture as an industry is kind of just in a strange place right now, because we're coming off of, I guess, a few years of really high commodity prices, high farm incomes, buildup in liquidity. And now we're coming off of that. So there's just questions of how quickly do things turn bad? What is the state of, what are farmers feeling right now? Are they able to tap into some of that liquidity that they just built up? Did they price in prices when they were high? How much are these lower prices going to affect them? So those are all things that we're trying to figure out currently.
Well, and part of that is figuring it out. The ag bankers and bankers that you deal with. I know you're working on that report as well. And the ABA is going to be meeting pretty soon too with kind of their outlooks. There are some challenges as everybody's kind of waiting for this fall harvest to see what happens the next year. And so, what are our bankers still somewhat confident, or at least know we can maybe weather this?
I think that overall they are. I think especially because we just went through this in the 2013 to 2020 period, so they were able to go 7 years through a downturn without really seeing an increase in a lot of stress. So I think they know how to handle this. Similar to last time, we've seen commodity prices come down, but farmland values remain really strong, even in the midst of high interest rates, lower, commodity prices declining here over the last 6 months. And so I think there's still, especially some optimism around cattle and livestock. Hog prices have come back up, so I think that is good. But I think in the areas or regions that are more concentrated in crops that may still be dealing with drought, there is a little bit of concern. I think we do have some good risk management tools in this country, like crop insurance and markets and things like that. So I think, and just the lending environment in general, what our bankers are able to do. But overall, our data is starting to show some signs of weakness. We've seen, we asked our bankers a couple of questions this last time about liquidity. A majority of our bankers reported that farm borrower liquidity was lower in the second quarter of 2024 compared to last year. In terms of farm production expenses, a majority were still seeing modest increases. A lot more last year, though, were saying they were seeing significant increases, and we also had more saying that they're seeing decreases. So I think it depends on the types of customers they're serving, whether they might be livestock or crop, and what region they're in. But overall, we are starting to see farm income come down at a quicker pace. But on the whole, credit quality, though, is still remaining really strong. Farm real estate values are still up over a year ago, even though the pace of increase is declining. And ranch land values are holding a relatively firmer than what we're seeing on the cropland side. And I think that highlights some of the relative strength in cattle markets relative to what we're seeing in crops right now.
Courtney Cowley is a senior economist at Kansas City Federal Reserve, joins us talking about the agriculture economy. We're going to take a quick break. Back with more in a moment.
When you've had a best friend for over 50 years, you develop a trust. And the Scott Co-op has been a trusted rural friend since 1957. A co-op keeps money in the area, doing business for and with their members. And that helps keep their hometown thriving with keeping money in the community. Scott Co-op is not just an elevator. It's the rural way of doing business. So, when you see an elevator, remember your friends at Scott Co-op.
The cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception: keeping electricity affordable.
Wheatland Electric, delivering energy for life, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
And our guest is Kansas City Fed's Courtney Cowley. She's a senior economist out of the Oklahoma City branch. And as we talk about this ag economy, probably general overall economy, the Fed Board of Governors met recently, and then will continue again. It seems like everybody is concerned and everybody has an opinion about where interest rates should be.
That's right. And for those of you who are like, or for those that are like me, or if you get a chance to, on the Wednesday of every Federal Open Market Committee meeting, the chair does a press conference. And that's a really good way to get insights into what they're thinking, along with reading the statement that the FOMC puts out. And in his press conference, Chair Powell's press conference, he mentioned maybe the kind of opening the door to the possibility of rates coming down in September. And, it's in an interesting time when trying to do monetary policy in an election year. And also, as we talked about in the last segment, when markets are very volatile. I think the Chicago Fed president said yesterday, Austin Goolsbee said that the Fed is not looking to markets on when to move. So the Fed tries to stay apolitical, so separate from politics, and also, not really being market driven, but data driven. And so, and also focused really on our dual mandate, which is full employment and price stability. So we are starting to see prices go back to the 2% goal that the Federal Open Market Committee has. And we are starting to see unemployment tick up a bit. And so those two things combined could signal to the Federal Open Market Committee that it may be time to lower interest rates. There's been, some pullback in consumer spending, especially for low-income households, and particularly for things like eating out or luxury goods. High-income households, we're still seeing a lot of strong spending there, but we are beginning to see some weaknesses on the consumer spending side in certain segments of the economy. So I think that it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, there could be a lot of data coming between now and then. A lot could happen until the September meeting that we can't predict. But all in all, if inflation continues to go on the path that it's going, and we are starting to see a little bit of weakness starting to crop up in labor markets, then those two things could signal that it's for the Federal Open Market Committee that it may be time to go a different direction.
Before we wrap up, just want to talk a little bit about a couple of new reports you have out. Y'all did a deep dive kind of on that agriculture, energy kind of segments. Maybe, one is relying on the other and vice versa.
That's right. We have a couple of publications out. I wrote what we call our economic review. It's a longer form article about the growing connections between agricultural and energy, and how renewable energy policy has really driven a lot of those changes, going back to the renewable fuel standard and what that did for corn, and then kind of maybe what does that tell us for as we're going into this new era with the Inflation Reduction Act, and some of the infrastructure spending that's taken place for renewable energy, specifically biofuels. What will that mean for agriculture, particularly oil seeds like soybeans and things like that? And then we hosted an agricultural summit here in May, where we discussed similar topics. And so we put out a report of a summary on key findings from that meeting, which included a lot of business leaders in the ag business space, and policy analysts and researchers talking about what do some of these things mean, what's policy's role, what's the long-term trajectory for agriculture in light of some of these developments. So I think that your listeners and viewers might be really interested in those articles. Kind of a shameless plug here, but I think they're pretty interesting development.
All right, Courtney, as always, we appreciate the time to visit with us, give us the update of what's going on from the Fed standpoint, from the ag economy, and we look forward to doing this again next quarter.
Thanks so much, Ken.
Great. Courtney Cowley, senior economist at the Kansas City Federal Reserve Oklahoma City branch, has joined us. We're going to take a break and come back with more in just a moment. Stay with us.
S&S Trailer Sales, with 2 locations in Ness City, Kansas, is where everybody goes to buy or rent trailers. They feature the all-new, all-aluminum Mauer grain trailer with all of the electric options, the easy-to-load detached trailers, and a huge stock of header trailers. At the west location, you'll find bumper poles, goosenecks, and oilfield specialty trailers, along with flat and utility beds for pickups. S&S Trailer Sales in Ness City and on the web, but remember, you do have to spell out the and.
KBUF Radio has agriculture information weekdays beginning at 6 with Agriculture Today. There's the KBUF Morning Show and Agriculture in America up till 11 o'clock. We talk with newsmakers, other folks of influence, and market analysis, weather, and more information to help you make good decisions on the farm and ranch. Follow along on our social media pages. Listen to KBUF or any Western Kansas broadcast station, westernkansasnews.com. I'm Ken Rahjes. Thanks for watching.